Limits. So if we have a negative superscript, that means we're coming in from the left and we'll cover the opposite side. So we'll cover the right-hand side. If we have a plus superscript, we're coming in from the right-hand side, and so we will cover the opposite side, which would of course be the left. And when there is no superscript, it's just x going to c, we look at both sides. So limit from the left, limit from the right, and see if they are equal. So with the limit, what we're trying to do is we're trying to ask ourselves, as x approaches the c value, what do our y values approach on the y-axis? All right, so let's take a look over here at this particular limit. All right, so the first step is we're going to look at the limit from the left-hand side. So this negative superscript is telling us that it's from the left. And so because it is from the left, we will have to cover the other side, which would be to cover the right-hand side. All right, so I cover my right-hand side and I cover everything up to -1 on the x-axis. So I'm approaching -1, so I cover everything up to -1. Now, as I approach in towards -1 on the x-axis, I want to look at what my function is doing. So my function is marching up towards this point right here. So basically you're drawing an arrow, tracing the function all the way up to the edge of your piece of paper. And so as I draw that arrow, I see that all my little function values are marching up towards this point, towards the edge of that piece of paper. And if I look at what that point is on the y-axis, I have a y value of -2. So that means my limit from the left is equal to -2. Now, if I want to look at the limit from the right-hand side, because I have a plus superscript, that means that I would cover up the left-hand side, so cover the opposite side, and I cover up the left starting at -1. So I would go over here, cover up at -1, and then I want to see what our little x values are marching towards, what the y values are marching towards. All right, so here we are at -1 on the x-axis. That is going to be marching in, they're marching in towards -1. The question is, what are the y values doing? So these little y values are going to be marching up towards the edge of this piece of paper, towards this point right here. And again, it doesn't matter if there's filled in circle, open circle, who really cares? What matters is what this arrow is pointing to. So this arrow is pointing to a y value of -7. So that means that our limit from the right-hand side is -7. Now, even though this question isn't asking for this, it is important to note that when these two one-sided limits are not equal, because these are not equal, what we are able to say is that the two-sided limit is going to be a does not exist. So because the limit from the left is not equal to the limit from the right, we would be able to say that the limit as x goes to -1 from both sides is not equal to a single value, and so we would write D in E for does not exist.